in the domestic auto industry, which has cost thousands of jobs, and closing of factories. A collapse in the housing market and skyrocketing gas prices have restricted mobility, making it much more difficult for people to find work. And some would argue against this bill by saying that it's an impediment to urging people to actually find work. And I would say that argument is nonsense. People cannot find work if they can't even sell their house. People cannot travel long distances to find a job if they can't afford $4 per gallon for gasoline. People cannot find a job if there are no jobs to be found. This legislation will provide all unemployed workers 13 extra weeks of benefits as a bridge to better times, and it will give workers in hard-hit areas like my home state of Michigan an additional 13 weeks beyond that. I believe that this is a very appropriate and compassionate action for this Congress to take, and I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting this critical legislation.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Washington.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous material into the record on H.R. 5749. I would also like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from the National Governors Conference dated May 1st, 2008, asking us to extend unemployment benefits to exhausted unemployment enrollees. I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Levin.
Consent to revise and extend.
Without objection. Gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
It's estimated that 4 million workers, 4 million, would be eligible under this unemployment extension. Over 1 million who have already exhausted, and 3 million in the future. You know, in previous downturns, when there were unemployment offices giving out checks, we could go there and we could talk to the people. That's no longer true in most states. But we should not let the absence of real faces blur our vision in Washington. If you had the 4 million people line up, it would extend from Washington, D.C. to Denver, Colorado. And we should not differentiate as to what state they live in. If they've exhausted their benefits, they should be eligible. Mr. Weller says targeted, that's over 6%. It leaves out a majority of those who have exhausted their benefits. It's not targeted. It's ruthless. It's ruthless. It doesn't take into account the lives of people. We saw the biggest increase in 20 years last May, from 5 to 5.5%. When President Bush signed the extension in 2002, it was 5.7. So you're going to stand up here now and quibble because of a difference of 0.2%. You don't want to extend benefits. The 20-week thing is a Trojan horse. It's another excuse not to step up to the plate. This is not a political issue. This is a people's issue. The exhaustion rate is the highest it's been at the beginning of the past 5 recessions. I urge on a bipartisan basis the passage of this bill.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would note the previous speaker referred to 6% as being ruthless. That's actually the formula in the majority Democrats' bill. So it was interesting that he criticized his own bill. I would also note to my good friend from Washington State, Mr. McDermott, that Illinois actually is a state in which someone can work 2 weeks and actually legislation has, of course, obtained 39 weeks of unemployment benefits. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes. Distinguished member of the House Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Brady.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Economically, our nation is a nation of thirds. 1/3 of our states face steep economic challenges. 1/3 are chugging along with their traditional economies, and 1/3 are enjoying strong job growth and, in fact, record low unemployment. This measure is well intended, there's no question about it, but compassion isn't enough. Jobs are what is needed. Instead of targeting